He destroyed Biden's DOJ on national TV. Senator Ted Cruz exposed the truth behind politically motivated prosecutions, shattered the media narrative, and demanded answers about the weaponization of justice.
Clearly not going to answer that question, so let me get on to.
Would you like to?
I do have
I'd love to
questions for
respond.
the second round.
You'll have a second round. Would you like to speak before I call on Senator Cruz?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Bondi, welcome. Thank you for your long career in public service, and thank you for your willingness to take on this incredibly important office. You know, I have to say, I don't know that there is a more important position in this new administration than the position to which you have been nominated, Attorney General of the United States. I thought the exchange just a moment ago with Senator Hirono was illustrative. She asked you how you would respond if the president asked you to target his political enemies. It's rather striking because it's not a hypothetical. It has happened over the last 4 years. And I think perhaps the most tragic legacy of the Biden-Harris administration has been the politicization and the weaponization of the United States Department of Justice. And we don't need to ask hypothetically because Joe Biden publicly mused and allowed the New York Times to report it, calling on Merrick Garland, why will he not prosecute Trump more quickly? And Merrick Garland, sadly, he sat in that chair and promised to be apolitical, and he broke that promise almost the instant he walked into the Department of Justice. If you look on the west pediment of the Supreme Court of the United States, just above the entrance, there's a simple yet profound four-word phrase, equal justice under law. We have seen over the last 4 years a Department of Justice that systematically targeted the political opponents of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and that systematically protected his friends and allies. And it is tragic to see the loss of confidence in the American people, in the Department of Justice, and in the FBI. I would note, I don't think there's an institution in America who has lost more respect from the American people than the FBI has in the last 4 years. That is a grotesque violation of the obligation of the Department of Justice and the FBI. So I want to start with just a very simple question. If you are confirmed as Attorney General, will you pledge to fairly and faithfully uphold the law regardless of party?
So help me God.
Amen. Look, and I want to be clear for folks at home. I don't want a Republican Department of Justice. I don't want a Democrat Department of Justice. I want a Department of Justice that follows the damn law. And I think the American people do too. That shouldn't be too much to expect. Now, I'm grateful to President Trump for nominating you. I think on any objective level, you're clearly qualified for this position. You have been a prosecutor for decades. You have been the elected Attorney General of the state of Florida, the third largest state in America, for 8 years. Let me ask you, in terms of your practice, how many criminal cases over the course of your career have you personally handled?
Handled thousands.
How many of those were before a jury?
Hundreds. I don't want to overstate, but hundreds. I was in a courtroom for many years. I tried 4 when I was an intern, jury trials. I think you had to try at least 20 in misdemeanor before you went to felony. Then you were in court every day, and I was also lead trial attorney for many years trying many cases. So.
And how many of those cases would have been before a judge?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds as well, but hundreds before a jury, I would assume.
And as Attorney General of Florida, how many lawyers did you supervise roughly?
Approximately 400, Senator.
Now, I also want to clarify something. During the course of this hearing, several Democrat senators have referred to you as President Trump's, quote, personal lawyer. Now I don't believe that is an accurate characterization. As I understand it, you represented President Trump as a White House special advisor during his first impeachment trial. Is that correct?
Within Office of White House Counsel, yes, Senator.
And is working within the White House counsel's office different than representing Donald J. Trump individually as his personal lawyer?
Absolutely.
How's it different?
You're working for the government. You're working for the Office of White House Counsel. You're not representing him in his personal capacity.
And so you have not represented him in his business affairs, in his personal life, or in any of the criminal trials he has faced?
No, Senator.
And you know, when it comes to weaponization, it's worth noting that in more than 2 centuries of our nation's history, no president had previously been indicted, no president had previously been prosecuted until the Biden-Harris White House came along. And in the last 4 years, we've seen Donald Trump indicted and prosecuted not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 separate times.
And 2 assassination attempts, Senator.
I have to say, Javert from Les Mis would be chagrined at the efforts of Democrats to do anything possible to take him down. And I believe the real target in this was not President Trump, but it was the American people, that these prosecutions were brought because partisan prosecutors were terrified that the American people would do exactly what they did in November of 2024 and vote to reelect Donald J. Trump.
By 77.3%. Million Americans. 77.3 million Americans.
Will you commit every day as Attorney General to follow the law, to follow the Constitution, to uphold the rule of law without favor and without regard to the partisan position of any criminal defendant?
Yes, Senator.
That's what we should all expect from an Attorney General. Thank you.
We'll now recess for 30-minute lunch break. That means we'll be back.
You're about to witness a takedown 4 years in the making. What you just witnessed was a political uppercut that pulled no punches and exposed the cold reality of what the Department of Justice has become under the Biden-Harris administration. A weaponized tool of political vengeance wrapped in the illusion of justice. Senator Ted Cruz didn't deliver a speech. He delivered a verdict. He used the hearing not to speculate, but to lay out fact after fact of how the DOJ has been twisted into a partisan machine that targets enemies and shields allies. From his opening lines, Cruz made it clear, this wasn't about hypotheticals. It was about the documented, unprecedented political prosecutions of former President Donald Trump, something no administration had ever dared to do in over 2 centuries of American history. And yet, here we are, with 4 separate criminal cases, timed perfectly to coincide with election cycles, and the sitting president publicly calling for faster prosecution of his opponent. Let that sink in. We have a sitting president who pressures his DOJ to indict the man leading in polls against him. This isn't politics. This is regime behavior, and Cruz wasn't finished. He confirmed that Bondi wasn't Trump's personal attorney, despite the desperate spin from Democrat senators trying to discredit her. He revealed she worked inside the Office of White House Counsel during the first impeachment, serving the office, not the man. That distinction matters, but facts rarely do to those bent on smearing anyone associated with Trump. Cruz turned the spotlight onto the institution itself, the DOJ and the FBI, and he was right. Public confidence in those agencies has collapsed, and not because of conspiracies, but because of their own actions. Because they've repeatedly been caught shielding Hunter Biden, ignoring whistleblowers, burying evidence, and selectively enforcing laws based on political affiliation. Cruz's message was sharp, but it was simple. The DOJ is supposed to be blind. Equal justice under law, not justice for friends, prosecutions for enemies. When Cruz asked Bondi if she'd commit to applying the law fairly to Democrats and Republicans alike, her answer was crystal clear. Yes. And that yes felt like a breath of fresh air in a room suffocated by years of partisanship. Bondi's decades of experience as a prosecutor and as Florida's Attorney General weren't just resume points. They were proof that she understood what justice is supposed to be. Impartial, non-negotiable, and blind to power. The systemic issue here is bigger than one trial or one presidency. It's that institutions now believe they're above scrutiny, that a certain class of elite officials can abuse power and face zero consequences, while average Americans get investigated, raided, and silenced for holding the wrong political beliefs. And the media, complicit every step of the way, refuses to call it out. So Cruz did, loudly, publicly, with the full force of facts, timelines, and courtroom experience. And the most powerful part, he didn't ask for revenge. He didn't say he wanted a Republican DOJ. He said he wanted one that follows the damn law. That's it. That's the standard. And yet, that's what we've lost. Ask yourself this. If Joe Biden's son wasn't named Hunter, would the DOJ still be dragging its feet? If Trump weren't running again, would these charges have been filed? If the political roles were reversed, would the media stay this quiet? You already know the answer. Institutions protect themselves, they gaslight the public, they slow walk the truth. And when people like Cruz dare to speak up, they get labeled as extremists. But the only extreme thing is the silence of so-called justice, while democracy is undermined from within. This moment wasn't about red versus blue. It was about power versus accountability. And Senator Cruz just fired a warning shot heard across the country. If we don't stop the politicization now, the Constitution will become nothing more than a prop, held up by the very people breaking it. This isn't over. Share this video. Let the facts reach every inbox, every platform, every voter. Subscribe to this channel, because the mainstream won't show you this. Stay loud, stay informed, and never forget, no one is above the Constitution. Not the DOJ, not the FBI, not the president, not now, not ever.